In the alternative magical world of Emo-Akuni, Kikuri, the ruler, deems it necessary to name her next successor after 60 years on the throne. With that goal in mind, Kikuri entrusts the future of this magical world to the 12 lords known as the 12 Shinshu. On Earth, in the modern-day Japan, we're introduced to the ginger-haired Arata. Suffice it to say, Arata is a gifted student. However, things are not looking up for him when he overhears his only friend gossiping about him, denying being Arata's friend to his fellow classmates. Add to that, he is then tormented by a bully named Kadawaki. Back to Emo-Akuni, we meet the other black-haired Arata, an energetic and a down-to-earth brat living with his grandmother Makari and his sister Kadoha. Kikuri is looking for a young virgin girl who can wield magic to replace her. If the clan doesn't have a young girl step forward as a candidate, it'll be massacred as a punishment. In order to protect her village, Makari decides her grandson pose as a girl, much to Arata's aggravation. Now that it's a matter of protecting the village, Arata can't refuse, so he starts toying with the godly sword called Hayagami, which is inherited from his ancestors. Only those who are worthy can wield its power. The following day in the capital, the ceremony commences. Dressed as a girl, Arata enters the palace and meets Kikuri. Out of nowhere, Kannagi, one of the 12 Shinshu, slashes Kikuri in the chest, wounding her severely. Arata yells at the other Shinshu to act against this blatant treason. But this was a pre-planned assassination by the 12 Shinshu who are beginning a revolution against the regime. Hearing Arata's voice, Kannagi immediately recognizes him as a boy and frames him from Kikuri's death by declaring him as a traitor who came disguised as a woman to kill the ruler. Arata runs away and ends up fleeing to the Kando forest. There, a switch between him and the ginger-haired Arata occurs, causing the latter to end up in this magical world. The ginger-haired Arata walks out of the forest only to be confronted by Kannagi, who doesn't recognize the switch. Attacked, Arata runs back to the forest and is saved by Kadoha, who also can't recognize the spell, which means she still thinks he's the black-haired Arata. Kadoha takes him home afterwards. Arata can't recognize her or Makari, which is quite devastating to Kadoha. After knowing that Arata was in the Kando forest, she immediately deduces the occurrence of the switch. Legend has it that those who go into the Kando forest come out as completely different people with an illusion spell cast on them so that no one would notice the switch. Much to Arata's fury, Makari tells him there's no way back to Japan now. He can only live in this world as the people therein will recognize him as the black-haired Arata. Kannagi drops by, holding Kadoha hostage, and asks where Arata is, which Makari refuses to tell. Kadoha affirms her belief in Arata loudly. Having never heard somebody say that about him in his whole life, Arata is stirred up, comes out and confronts Kannagi. Kannagi has his men attack, but Arata defends himself with the rusty old Hayagami. Kannagi unleashes the flames from his Hayagami on Arata. After Makari's instruction, Arata successfully blocks Kannagi's attack. The place crumbles and the ceiling falls down afterwards. Meanwhile, in Japan, ginger-haired Arata's mother and sister now are worried about him since he doesn't return their calls. Noticing the commotion, they find the black-haired Arata, half naked. Obviously, nobody in Japan can notice the switch. Back in the magical world, Arata and the other two flee to a cave, where Makari explains that only the chosen one can wield the power of the relic sword. Arata sits alone by the river, sulking and lamenting his loneliness. Kadoha approaches him, comforts him and gives him her necklace. Again, Kannagi shows up, holding Makari hostage, and orders Arata to surrender, which he does. On the way to the palace, from Kadoha's necklace, a portal to Japan opens and the two Aratas come face to face. Recognizing his room, Arata tries going into the portal but fails since it's blocked. Black-haired Arata then explains what exactly happened and how Kannagi tried killing Kikuri and made Arata the scapegoat. In the palace, a trial is held, where Kannagi reveals the comatose Kikuri to the public and attributes her critical condition to Arata. Arata tells him to cut the crap and calls the 12 Shishu cowards. Despite people demanding a death penalty, Arata is sentenced to life in an island called Gatoya. Arata is sent on a ship to the island and Kadoha is caught sneaking to ship, trying to see him. It turns out, Kadoha smuggled the Hayagami for Arata in a bag. Arata tries using it to escape, but it doesn't work, much to Arata's disappointment. Just then, the necklace glows. Arata's and Kadoha's spirits meets Kikuri's. Kikuri tells Arata she believes in him to restore order in Emo-Akuni and to save her life before it runs out. Afterwards, Kadoha stores the Hayagami within Arata's hands shortly before their arrival to Gatoya Island. The two are escorted inside Gatoya, where they meet Jinchai and the ginger-haired Kanate. Given that killing Arata will get him out of this island, Kanate tries killing him but is interrupted by a protocol called Judgment Time where the warden chooses two prisoners and devours them. Later on, Arata is separated from Kadoha. Arata panics and tries reaching her but is confronted by prisoners eager to kill him for killing the queen. Arata shakes them off and meets Osam, who tells them Kanate saved Kadoha and took her with him. Meanwhile, Kadoha thanks the duo for saving her and Jinchai goes out to get some snacks for them. Being uncomfortable around a girl, Kanate excuses himself and goes out to check on Jinchai. Again, he encounters Arata sitting by an unconscious Jinchai. Furious, Kanate attacks Arata, but Jinchai awakes and reveals prisoners mugged him and took his ring. Arata was actually trying to save him. A prisoner comes by and tries to kill Jinchai, but Arata kicks him in the stomach before he can even get to him. While Kanate goes looking for the ring, Arata has Kotoha attend to Jinchai's wounds. Moments later, Kanate retrieves Jinchai's ring. Even though Arata saved his friend's life, Kanate still wants his head to get out of this island. Before the two can start their duel, they're interrupted by the Judgment Time Protocol. After it takes Kanate, Arata is next, but Jinchai saves him, wanting to go with his friend. Wanting to save the duo, Arata follows the pipes, which are controlled by the Warden. Meanwhile, Kanate and Jinchai wake up to find themselves tied up. The Warden unties them and has the two fight in a duel. One of them must kill the other. Despite Jinchai's refusal to fight, Kanate attacks, overwhelming Jinchai. Arata then locates the room. Not wanting Arata to disappear, the Warden tries tying him up, but Arata dodges the pipes. Kanate goes for the finishing blow but is knocked out by his scared friend, shocking Kotoha. The Warden then tries killing Jinchai. Arata pulls out his Hayagami, saves the boy and calls the Warden out for turning friends against each other. The Warden attacks Arata. Arata fends for himself thanks to his Hayagami that finally materialized its powers. The Warden tries attacking again. Arata blows all of the pipes up. The Warden, named Tsutsuga, controlling them appears, bound to his place by another Hayagami. Arata touches it and sees Tsutsuga's memory. A long time ago, when Tsutsuga was young, he was betrayed and stabbed with his own Hayagami by his friend, which caused the Hayagami to turn demonic, releasing these pipes all over the place. Arata tries taking out the Hayagami. While doing so, Arata recalls the hatred and betrayal he received from his friends. Thankfully, Arata takes out the Hayagami. Tsutsuga thanks him profusely and gifts him his Hayagami of Judgment, as well as his own powers. Kannagi walks in looking for Arata but is shocked when he hears about how Tsutsuga lost to him. While Tsutsuga's spirit berates Kannagi for going after Arata, Arata along with Kotoha and the duo escape the island on a boat. Arata and the others end up in a land where they discover a village. It turns out to be Jinchai's village, as he's welcomed home by the villagers and by his loving mother. The villagers leave afterwards, regretting kidnapping Jinchai. Kanate refuses to go on with the village and bids Jinchai farewell, telling him to never leave his mother again. Now that he is alone with no motive or destination, Arata has Kanate come with him to the capital. En route, they're attacked by a creature known as a Miru. After shaking it off, they find a girl hiding in the bushes with the Miru's egg. The Miru finds them and chases Kanate, as Arata and the girls hide. Kotoha asks the girl why she stole the egg. At that moment, Kanate returns and is saved by a man named Akiha. Arata faints before he can thank him. Soon after, Arata awakes in Akiha's house with Kanate by his side before Akiha enters with his Hayagami in hand. Meanwhile, Kannagi finds the lords serving him dead. One of them reveals Akachi, who is one of the 12 Shinshu, stormed the place and killed everybody. Kannagi decides to head for Akiha's place, now that he's the only lord serving him left. However, it's too late. Akachi is already there. Akachi reveals Kannagi is the one behind the plot to murder Kikuri in order to rule on Wakuni. More so, Kannagi is after Arata since Arata is a loose end, having taken the blame for the attempted murder of Kikuri. Akachi then orders Oika to become his servant. Oika refuses, but Akachi materializes his power and holds Oika's pregnant wife hostage. Oika accepts on the condition that Akachi promises to never lay a finger on his wife, to which Akachi agrees. After Oika submits his spirit to Akachi, Akachi breaks his promise and slaughters the wife. Akachi cuts down the curtains and finds Arata and the others. A furious Kannagi arrives and attacks Akachi with his flames. Akachi cocoons himself and attacks Kannagi. After Kannagi and Akachi clash against each other, Akachi takes Kannagi's Hayagami and reveals all the Hayagamis of the lords who submitted to him. Edgy, Kannagi attacks barehanded. Akachi dodges and starts torturing Kannagi until Arata yells at him to stop, which Akachi does before he tells Arata every Hayagami-wielding lord will submit to him sooner or later. After Akachi leaves, Arata berates a devastated Kannagi for attempting to kill Kikuri and pinning her murder on him. Kannagi justifies he didn't want to be controlled by a superior ruler anymore, as he wants to liberate Hamura, a girl he loved. Night falls. Arata is lost in thought and scared, thinking his power isn't enough to face Akachi. If he fights Akachi, the other 12 Shinshu will also join the fight, prompting chaos all over the place. Kanate reminds Arata that Kikuri entrusted him to restore order to Amokuni because he was worthy. Also, Kotoha adds that Tsutsuga didn't submit to him by force, he submitted to Arata because he saw greatness in him. Sure, his Hayagami lacks the attack abilities, but it is powerful enough to govern this world and unify it. Hearing that, Arata perks back up. As Arata holds up his Hayagami, a yellow light glows from it and Kannagi notices it from afar. Hearing about Arata, Uranami, one of the 12 Shinshu, takes quite an interest in him, as he describes him as the chosen one and chuckles sinisterly.